about turning 30 and the anxiety that comes with leaving your 20s. We're joined now by Satya Doya Bayak. She's a licensed psychotherapist and author of the book Quarter Life, The Search for Self in Early Adulthood. Her book is a roadmap that helps quarter-lifers navigate early adulthood. Please welcome Satya to our show. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
So, full disclosure, I'm out of breath because I was upstairs in our audience who are high schoolers visiting, many of them studying journalism, and I was so awestruck by the maturity from 18 and 17. I told them I was a hot mess at 17, 18. I was full braces and big hair. There is such a pressure, but you do see this maturity earlier.
Yeah.
Or is it just my lying eyes? Because they seem to have it together.
Well, I mean, this is the most educated population of young adults we've ever had.
Really?
We're raising people to be very mature, but we're also putting enormous amounts of pressure on people to succeed by a certain age, as we've seen with earlier guests.
Right. And that's why I wanted you on, because I love this idea of the search for self in early adulthood.
Yeah.
What do we call early adulthood? Is it 18?
Well, so I call it quarter life, and I define quarter life as being the first stage of adulthood between adolescence and midlife.
Yeah.
It's a stage of adulthood that developmental psychology has really kind of glazed over historically.
Why is that?
Because we've tied it to economic goals, we've tied it to procreation. You're supposed to get married, have kids, have a home, have a 401k. You're supposed to know what you're doing, but this is really an old narrative. We've completely transformed gender roles in this, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm obviously very in favor.
Well, that's to your point. I mean, listen, I remember graduating from high school, and if you didn't have the name of the college, if you didn't know, what you were going to be studying or the specific job you were going, you were a failure.
That's right. And so in my book, I talk about there being two types of quarter-lifers. There's stability types and meaning types. This is a broad spectrum, but historically, we've kind of looked at folks as either succeeding in adulthood or failing. That's not really what's going on.
Who makes these rules? I always wonder that.
Yeah.
Because even when you look at the people who make the rules, even before social media, they often weren't meeting those milestones either.
No. So we have historically tied this stage of adulthood, again, to things that were just about sort of becoming part of the economy or becoming part of a family, get married, etc. What we're asking people of now is we're asking people to find themselves, to know who they are. Again, I think these are good things, but we're not culturally setting people up to know how to get there.
Yeah. You have tools in the book that talk about how to help quarter-lifers navigate adulthood. You say separate. What does separate mean?
So this is the first pillar of growth for quarter life that I define in my book. And I talk about it, it's an important kind of guideline for this stage. You need to become an independent person away from your parents. This is a timeless part of this stage of life. It's not brand new with social media. We need to figure out who we are as independent people. To do that, we need to separate physically, economically, etc.
But isn't it harder than ever because you can't afford to move out? That stability of home is not just because you want your mom's meatloaf on Monday.
Absolutely.
It's because you can't afford to get an apartment.
Right. And so what has changed significantly is the expectations and the economics don't match anymore.
Okay, but you still, even with the economics not matching or the math not mathing, you still need to separate.
It's a psychological piece of existence. This is human development. And so it's not just about leaving home, it's also psychologically, who am I as separate from my mom?
Wow.
Is this anxiety my dad's anxiety or is it my anxiety?
So if it means getting an apartment with 16 other people, separate.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, we all got to figure it out. But again, it's not just financial. It's a psychological
It's a psychological thing. I'm saying you have to have the risk-reward part. Listen is the next pillar.
Right. So the second pillar of growth in my book, it's about listening to yourself. So much of what we, again, kind of ask people in this stage of life is to just go for it, just become something, right?
Yeah.
We've seen, again, from earlier guests, sometimes you have to tear that stuff down because it's the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people early in life to genuinely ask themselves who they are, but not like narcissistic, navel-gazing. It's because it's important. We have to know who we are as individuals.
Build, what does that mean?
You then need to construct that life. So again, for some people, that means tearing things down before being able to really build up what you want. But ideally, you're constructing the life that you want. And it takes labor, it's mundane stuff often, it's step by step, but it's more the willpower.
Last but not least, of course, integrate. What does that mean?
Integration it's celebrating when these things come together. It's bringing all these pillars together. When I work with clients, it's really about acknowledging you did it.
Did you dread 30?
I didn't dread 30, but partly because I was already studying this stage of life and trying to make sense of, you know, what we need to be doing. This is the book, I wrote the book I needed when I was 23.
Wow. Thank you so much. This is brilliant. Satya, and to learn more about Satya's book, Quarterlife, The Search for Self in Early Adulthood, I am sending this to my 2 nieces and my nephew right now. Head to our website, TamFam. You are going home with the book today.